Hi, and welcome to another episode of the Next Row Knitters Club. I hope you are part of the club because you love fiber and knitting and yarn and talking about all of those things as much as I do. My name is Rachel. I'm filming on April 5th, 2026 from Houston, Texas, where I am currently sitting in my home that's on the market as I prepare for my next row, which is a big cross-country move to upstate New York. So welcome. I don't have a ton of finished objects today. I have one. And then I have 3 whips that I'm going to show. I certainly have a lot more than that. But I'm just going to show 3 of them that I've done some work on. And then I have one new cast on, which is very different, kind of fun, and very sort of spur of the moment, not something I absolutely needed to do, but so be it. Okay, so let's start with my finished object, which is my second Hella Hot Hexie Cowl by Catherine Clark, who owns Brooklyn General Store. I just love this pattern. It makes a really squishy, lovely cowl. This one was done in 2 different yarns by Madeline Tosh. So the Mad Tosh DK twist in the color of the Radness, which is a like a white with neon speckles, and then a Tosh DK in Coquette Deux, which is this really pretty purpley pinky color. So here is my little tag, which I think looks really cute on this. I had already finished one that will probably be for my son, so this might be for my daughter-in-law. And in the whips, you will see that I've gone ahead and cast on one for my little toddler grandson, so that these can be kind of put away and ready for the holidays when it's cold again. This yarn bled a lot. The pinky color bled a lot onto the white little hexagons. And at first I did put in color catchers, which I usually do with colors like this. So I was a little annoyed that there was so much bleeding. But I will say that in some ways it's a happy accident, because I didn't really love the stark white for her. It just didn't really read as her vibe. And this is sort of made it creamier, a little bit of sort of light pink. And I think it actually tones it down a little in a way that she would like. So I will show you sort of how nicely it fits. And again, I have made these kinds of cowls for them a lot, and they seem to get like the most wear because they just stay, and they, you know, are cozy, and you can wear them. Sometimes they wear them over a coat with a hood, so this kind of just cinches the hood in. My hair's all crazy. So anyway, that's gonna go, it needs to dry a tiny bit more. It's slightly damp, so that needs to go sit out for a bit, and then it will get packed away as a gift. What else can I say about this pattern? If you remember from the first one I made, I felt that when it blocked, it did get a little bit looser than I would have wanted. So I went down a needle size. I think it called for a 6 and I went to a 5, and I'm happy with that gauge, at least with my my tension. And so that's the gauge I'm doing for my grandsons, and I will just go ahead and show that. So this pattern is a 1 size pattern. So there wasn't a kid size, but I had done a tin can knit cowl for him, and I just sort of looked at the numbers and was able to sort of figure that out. So this is going to be his. You can see that it is going to be considerably sort of smaller. I didn't want it to have all that extra fabric. I wanted it to be a little more tight fitting, but it also is on really small needles. So I think that when it gets off the needles, it will be the right size. I also will just eyeball it and figure out how many repeats to do of the pattern so that it doesn't need to be, you know, super tall for him. So I'm using, I think this is another Mad Tosh. This is Tosk Merino DK in Pigeon Wing. And it is a kind of one of those colors that can look either blue or gray, depending on sort of the light or what you're pairing it with. I think this is a single, and it is a bit thick and thin, which is fine for this pattern. It looks fine, but might not be everybody's cup of tea. I don't even know if they make this base anymore, to be honest. The other yarn is a Primrose Yarn Company MCN in ink blot. And interestingly, I thought this was blue and this was gray, but white with, or cream with like gray. But when you put them together, they really do look like they are the same. And I think you can see, you know, as this knits up, it's coming out really nicely, and I think it's going to be really, really cute. And then they will all have sort of matching but different colors. So anyway, I think that's going to be super fun. Yeah, I can't say enough about this pattern. It is, it's easy to see where you are in the pattern. It's easy to customize a little bit in size. So, and then it just, the geometric, I'm really a sucker for geometric patterns, and it does have that great sort of, you know, look from a distance, just that really cool geometric look. So yeah, I think it's a fun cowl pattern to gift and have. So my second whip I have shown before, and I've put a little bit of work on it. It is the Stash Dive Scarf by Summerly Designs. Basically, I just kind of looked at that and I'm really kind of making it my own. It is so much fun. So you can see all this really yummy marling, and the colors are just kind of more muted because of this, although these end colors look really dark. And they are darker, but I think it all just kind of blends together. It is incredibly cozy. It has a very, very thick texture, which I think for winters up east and dog walking is going to be like absolutely perfect. The fun of this, and I think anybody could and should replicate this because it's super cool. I am using these Minikin fingering by Freya fine hand paints, and you can see, and I've shown these before, there's the Freya fine hand paints. It will all be listed below. I'm really trying to be good about doing that. This was a set of 12 of those in different colors, and I've just been picking them up and playing with it, but I'm also holding it with this Barocco vintage sock in this cream color, and that's what's giving it that marled look. But it's the easiest, just, you know, around. I don't know what I'm going to even do at the end. I'm fine with just leaving it like this, rolled hem, and not sewing it, but I could also see just, you know, kind of sewing it up like that. And then the end, I will probably, you know, Kitchener closed or something. I don't know. I really, really like this. And it's going to be really long, and I have a lot of this yarn, so I can play with that. So highly recommend, super fun. It would make a great gift knit as well. It would make a great scrap project if you just used things that were left over. Just super, super fun. Okay, so my third whip that you've already seen is my jaunty. And gosh, it doesn't look like it's growing. I do like this pattern now that I've gotten into the rhythm of it. For some reason, when I made the first one, I just got off so many times, and knock on wood, that has not happened this time. So I am using this really squishy Blue Moon fiber in what was a giant cake of yarn. It's called their Cake DK, 100% merino. It's 795 yards and 255 grams. So it was huge. And again, a lot of these projects are made from yarn in the yarn closet, which was holding all the yarn that I was going to give away or sell. And for some reason, some crazy thing has gotten into me, and I keep going in there and seeing what I can pull out and make, rather than, you know, give it away or sell it or whatever. So all the Hella Hexie Cowls, I think, had come from that, including the new one that is going to be for my grandson. This big skein of yarn, I just didn't, first of all, when it was skeined up, I just didn't like the color. And then when it was caked up, I liked the color. But now that it's knitted up, so we've got, you know, seeing the colors of hand-dyed yarn in a skein, and then seeing them when they're caked up, and then seeing them when they're knit or crocheted up. It all has, it can hit you differently, right? I like this. It's not reading me right now. Like, I don't see this as something I would necessarily gravitate towards, but I see this as very kind of gender neutral, and I can see a lot of people, you know, in my family who like hand knits being able to wear this. So this may very well end up in the gift pile, but I am enjoying working on that. I have to keep sort of measuring or weighing the yarn, which, you know, is not something I've really done carefully before, because I usually end up with just extra yarn and don't worry about it. But for this particular giant skein, I am measuring or weighing it, and I will stop at a particular point, I think, when I've used 45% of the yarn. I think that's the recommended amount, and then I will stop and start doing the decreases. So that's the plan for right now. So that leaves me with the last two things, and so this is going to be a shorter podcast. One is my new cast on again. No business casting this on, no need for this. I saw a couple podcasters recently making this baby sweater, and I have a plethora of self-striping yarn, as I have a plethora of any kind of yarn, basically. And so I thought, okay, well, I'm always making baby gifts for my, you know, my kids' friends' kids and all of that. So this would be a good thing to have. But I was a little daunted by the fact that people said the construction was really kind of out there. So the pattern is by Telly Bean Knits, and it's called the Showered in Rainbows Baby Sweater. And you can sort of see by that picture that because we have the stripes down the middle in a vertical way and then horizontally on the sides, that tells you that there has to be some sort of seaming or picking up of stitches in order to get that stop and start. So I think there's another, some other good pictures in here. So there's a different color version. And again, the designer is Telly Bean Knits. She has written a whole book, which I have, about using self-striping yarn, which I really appreciate that, you someone has taken the time to sort of figure out alternative uses other than sort of socks. But this is a little, I won't say fiddly. It's just different. And I don't know if it's the yarn I'm using, but I'm having a lot of issues with the pieces curling. So I have tried to steam them blocked, which I never do, like steam in the middle of a project. I almost never have done that, but I need to do that with this because it's really hard for me to even just sort of figure out like how I'm going to use these stitches, right? Like pick up the edges and stuff if I can't see them because they're all sort of curled over. So I'll show you in a minute. This yarn definitely came out of the you can't take this yarn with you closet. And apparently I have to. So it is a self-striping yarn, and it was in a really bold color, rainbow colorway. And I thought, yeah, I'm just not feeling it. I don't really need it. But then when I thought about a baby sweater and seeing those stripes sort of line up horizontally and vertically sort of next to each other, I thought that might be really cool. So this is, I'm doing the 6 to 12 month size. Again, I do not have a baby in mind, but this will be a gift. This is the Kniterrly Things-Vesper sock. I don't know if they're still dyeing yarn. I haven't heard of them in a long while, but they were a very, very popular self-striping yarn dyer. This was their Rainbow of the Month colorway for February 2017. So it is Deep Stash. And the colorway was called The Way It Goes. It was a 75-25, and this is where things get a little interesting. It's a 75-25 superwash wool and nylon. It is very much wool and not merino. The scratch, the rustic, whatever you want to call it, it's real. It feels very different. And I was worried about like, oh my God, this is a sweater, until I realized, one, it is going to soften with wear and washing and blocking and all of that, but also it's going to go over like a onesie or something else. So you do this in sections, and I have finished these first two sections, which are the little like sleeves, and then you do a 3-needle bind off at the top. So those are sort of the two sides, and then I'm gonna build everything together from there. So this is not like my usual, knit and chill and watch Netflix and not pay attention, because I very much have to figure out what I'm doing. There's a lot of like knit to this point and then put these stitches on hold and then add these back. The nice thing was that after I did all of that for the first side, the opposite side is done exactly the same way. So that felt like a little win, because I was like, okay, I'm comfortable. I've done this. We're good. But it is, there's a lot of moving parts for me, for a knitter who, likes to sort of be on chill, relax mode when I'm knitting. So that is definitely something that, I have picked up when I needed a little more stimulation, when I was like, okay, I actually need to think about something right now. Like, let me figure this out. And that's worked out so far. So you can see that there is a lot of rolling. This is even after like steam blocking. They're still rolling a lot. I think you can see that. The colors are as bright as they are coming across. It's going to be a really very rainbowy, like baby jacket kind of thing. But I think it will be really cute if I persevere and just get that sort of figured out. So my last thing today, other than to remind you to please like, subscribe, check out the links if you want to see any of these patterns on Ravelry. I should say this would be a good time for me to remind you, I think I've said before, I am not as comfortable digitally recording my projects as I am analog journaling. And I will, at some point I think I will bring up my knitting journals and just kind of show you how I use those. And if anybody's interested, there's sort of a product that I purchased to put in the journals that are these stickers that, anyway, I will talk about that at a later date. But because of that, I will link to the Ravelry page for the project, but not my personal project because those have not been on Ravelry. I do use Ravelry to find patterns, to buy patterns, keep my patterns, but I don't use it as my sort of journal of my stuff. Okay, so last but not least, I have mentioned the move. I've mentioned that this title of this podcast, Next Row, applies to both knitting and life. And so I do have another 5 skeins of DESTASH. I showed these last time. I think it's worth sort of showing them again. This is really like a yarn time capsule. Some of these dyers are not dyeing any longer. Certainly no one is going to have these exact 5 skeins, but they really are a beautiful assortment of pinks and purples. I mean, not pinks and purples, blues and purples. And so I'm going to show them individually. And if this is something you want, I will send this for, $100, including shipping in the US or Canada. Okay, so this first one is not dyeing anymore, I'm pretty sure. Eva Little Goat. It's her Shimmy Goat, which is 80 Super Rush Merino 20 nylon, 400 yards, and the colorway is over and over and over. So this has some pinks. I really love this color, and I would not mind using this for something if nobody ends up buying this. So no tragedy there. This dyer is also not dyeing, I'm almost certain. This is Maker's Haven, hand dyed in North Carolina. The colorway is After the Storm. This is also a 400 yard 80-20. This has a lot of, there's my hair, a lot of purple, a lot of blues, really, really pretty. The next is a Mad Tosh. This is Flash Dance. This is Tosk Merino. I think this is their single. It's this gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous tonal purple. It's variegated or tonal. I'm not exactly sure which you would call it because it is so dark and rich and deep. Okay. The fourth skein, I'm not sure if she is dyeing still or not. This is Stitch Mischief in the colorway Love Fool. This is also an 80-20. 400 yards. So these would be really cool in some sort of fade. A 3 skein shawl, a 5 skein shawl, lots of options. And this is a spun right round in a beautiful colorway. This is 100% merino, no nylon, also 400 yards. And Where Is My Mind? And that you can see is just absolutely stunning with that kind of goldy, grungy color in there with a lot of that lilac-y and just really, really pretty. So those are the 5 skeins that could come to you as your sort of yarn treat, if you are due a yarn treat. So just let me know, email me. The email will be below. Okay, if you celebrate Easter, I hope today was a lovely Easter for you and your family. If you celebrate Passover, I hope you are enjoying eating a lot of matzah and avoiding bread, if that's something you do, and that you had a lovely Seder last week. So if none of those are your holiday of choice, I hope you're finding some fun time for knitting and contemplating life as you go to the next row. So have a great Sunday. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, and I'll be back with more. Thanks.